Ladies and gentlemen, get on your feet for tonight's episode of Sitting Quietly with Dan Perazzi. And now your host, Dan Perazzi.
All right, well, thank you for that introduction. That was done by my friend Brandon, who runs Mariner Blog. He said he wanted to give me a really Tonight Show type opening, and he calls my show Sitting Quietly because the whole joke is, if all the shit I talk, if someone said something to me in person, I would just sit quietly, but if you actually know me in real life, that's not the case. Anyway, welcome to episode 11 of Sports and Bullshit. I'm winging it alone this week. Really going to just be about baseball. Jumping into the 2014 Major League season. Technically, we've already had 2 games between the Dodgers and Diamondbacks out in Australia, which I think like 30 people watched over here, seeing as the games were on at like 3 in the morning. But opening day is on Sunday. I'm going to opening day for the Mets on Monday when they play the Nationals. It's been really slow in football leading up to the draft, so not a ton of football talk unless some kind of crazy trade happens until then. But Jared Allen to the Bears, talk about Deshaun Jackson moving. But as I said, this is really going to be mostly about the upcoming Major League Baseball season. I'm going to tell you who I think is going to win each division. I'm going to break them down a little bit, why I like certain teams, and I'm going to tell you who I think is going to win each, award, MVP, Cy Young, and I'll tell you who I think my eventual AL, NL champions are, and my World Series champions, which it's such a long season, it's really hard to be confident in a pick like you would be more so in football or even basketball, because in a baseball season, so many things could happen. If you lose your staff ace, you're pretty much done. So, it should be a shorter episode this week, but with the way I ramble, who knows? So we'll jump right into it. American League East is the first division we're going to go into. It's a really tough division. Last year only one team didn't finish above 500, and that was the Toronto Blue Jays. I would expect them to bounce back, not necessarily compete, but be a better team. They do have a lot of potential still. They have some really nice players. I would say the East is the best division in baseball. Between Tampa, the Yankees, the defending World Series champions, Baltimore, and like I said, Toronto, who underperformed. I could see any one of these teams winning the division, honestly, and I think it's going to go down to the wire. Boston is obviously a defending World Series champions. Very good rotation, a great bullpen anchored by Japanese pitcher Koji Uehara, who I didn't give him enough credit coming into last year, and he wasn't even the closer when they opened the season, and he was phenomenal. He was basically unhittable. I mean, his whip last year was just insane. And the thing that Boston had to go right last year was that everything kind of fell into place, which rarely ever happens in baseball. Everything they needed to have happen happened, and everything that could have gone wrong didn't go wrong, which is a very rare thing. So it'd be really hard for them to duplicate that. And plus, they're going to be relying on a lot of rookies this year too. They let Jacoby Ellsbury depart, went to the Yankees. They're going to be relying on Xander Bogaerts at shortstop. As Steven Drew left in free agency, which he didn't really leave, he's still a free agent, and Jackie Bradley Jr., and another young player, Will Middlebrooks, they're expecting a lot from. So that's a lot to really put a lot of pressure on 3 young players. Now, the Yankees, they spent a Major League free agency record over $400 million on players this past offseason for Masahiro Tanaka, Brian McCann, Carlos Beltran, Jacoby Ellsbury, Kelly Johnson, Brandon Ryan, Brian Roberts, quite a few, as you can see. Now, they have a lot of questions. They have the second oldest team in baseball, and they were the first oldest until the Phillies signed A.J. Burnett. So you have questions at first base. Is Mark Teixeira going to bounce back? And will he stay healthy as well? Who's your second baseman replacing Robinson Cano? Your only player who's been able to play 160 games every year. Is Derek Jeter going to be able to play over 120 games at shortstop? And will he be effective at, almost 40 in his last season? And who's your third baseman? I mean, right now, if Alex Rodriguez could play, he would be the best third baseman on that team. They're putting a lot of faith into a guy like Brian Roberts, who, while talented, is always hurt. Now, the Yankees' strength, when you look at it, you would think their outfield situation, but it's a very weird outfield situation because you have 4 guys who are all really starters, and one of them is going to have to be the 5th starter. You have a lot of guys that have an advanced age, and they're going to need a DH between Jeter, Teixeira, Beltran, Soriano, Brian McCann. You don't want to take his bat out of the lineup, especially because you love his leadership. But the Yankees' real strength to me is the high upside rotation between CC Sabathia, Ivan Nova, Hiroki Kuroda, Masahiro Tanaka, and Michael Pineda, who's finally going to pitch for the Yankees since the trade with the Mariners a few years ago. But when you have, as I said with the Red Sox last year, nothing went wrong, everything went right, which is a very, very rare thing to happen. And I'd be very stunned if that happened for the Yankees, especially considering how old of a team they are. Now, looking at Tampa Bay is a very, very good team. They have a great rotation. They have one of the best, if not the best, third baseman in baseball, and Evan Longoria, if he can stay healthy. Will Myers, Rookie of the Year last year, stud player. Arguably the best manager in baseball, and Joe Madden, who somehow gets it to work when you least expect it. And they always have an amazing bullpen. They picked up Grant Balfour, who for some reason failed his physical in Baltimore. And whenever a closer goes to Tampa, they seem to pitch better than ever. Fernando Rodney, for example. So I wouldn't expect that to be any different. David Price is pitching for a big money contract. He has free agency coming up. And he had a good year last year, but wasn't by his Cy Young standards. And if you look at his career, he always has a great season, decent season, great season, decent season. So I'm expecting a great season from David Price. Now, Baltimore, they actually spent some money this offseason. They went and got Ubaldo Jimenez. They got Nelson Cruz. That's a really nice team. Buck Showalter is an awesome manager. Solid bullpen, but a nice lineup, too. Very well balanced lineup. If you look at all the teams, Boston probably is the best lineup 1 through 9, but Baltimore is a really nice 1 through 9 lineup, and it makes sense. You got your speed at the top, power in the middle, and Buck is a very good manager, as I said. And, well, like I was saying with Toronto, they have a lot of potential. You just worry about a lot of injuries for guys like Jose Reyes and things like that. He's so important to getting an offense going. And Jose Bautista hasn't been staying healthy either. And I think R.A. Dickey will have a better year, but I'm admittedly an R.A. Dickey fanboy. So, I went a little more in depth with the Yankees because they're the ones that, if everything goes right, they should win the division. But as I said, that doesn't happen. So I have a hard time picking against the defending World Series champions to win this division. Boston has the right leadership in place. They have youth. They have experience. They have an ace in John Lester. They have a great closer. One of the other situations with the Yankees is the loss of Mariano Rivera if David Robertson can fill that role. And who's your 8th inning man now? So that's a big deal. That kind of changes the whole dynamic of your rotation as well, because you're not as confident as stretch. You don't have that luxury of stretching out your pitcher now because you don't know if that bullpen can hold it down. So you might try and stretch him out a little bit more to get to that 9th inning. It changes everything. So I will go with Boston winning the AL East, defending the crown. But it can go a lot of ways. Now, American League Central, we're going to jump right into. This has basically been Detroit's division for the last few years. I'd expect it to remain the same way, honestly. They swapped Prince Fielder at first base to get Ian Kinsler at second, which means Miguel Cabrera, the defending 2-time American League MVP, can shift back to first base, with Nick Castellanos moving back to his natural position at third. And Nick Castellanos is an awesome young player. He had a phenomenal spring training, and I think moving back to his natural position where he is comfortable, I think you're going to see very, very good numbers from him. Now, the shortstop is a bit of a question mark. They lost Jose Iglesias, stud defensive player, pretty solid bat as well. And that hurts. They just picked up Alex Gonzalez last week in the trade, and they picked up Romine from the Angels, who's supposed to be a very good plus defender. So I think that's going to be more about just playing solid defense up the middle and turning the double play with Kinsler. He doesn't need to crush the ball. Not when you have Miguel Cabrera, Ian Kinsler, Castellanos, Torrey Hunter, all those guys, Victor Martinez, which I don't like the idea of them moving him back to catcher, which the new Tigers manager has toyed with. Now, one of the other strengths of the Tigers is the rotation. They have arguably the best 1-2 punch in baseball in Max Scherzer and Justin Verlander. And then you have a good 3 and 4 behind him, too, and Anibal Sanchez and Rick Porcello. And you got Drew Smyly moving back into the rotation from the bullpen. And now you also shored up the bullpen. You signed Joe Nathan, free agency, as your closer, and Jabba Chamberlain is your 8th inning guy. And I think Jabba is a guy that can really benefit from a change of scenery. So if everything works out, that's a very, very good bullpen. I don't know about Joe Nathan in the postseason. Historically, hasn't been very good there, but we're just talking about getting that run in the regular season and having a solid bullpen, which the Tigers haven't had the last couple years. Now, as far as the Indians go, they had a nice year last year. They did lose Ubaldo Jimenez, so I think they're going to take a step back. They still have some nice players there. I think Terry Francona is a phenomenal manager. He can manage his way around any game. So the Indians being in the thick of things again wouldn't stun me. I just don't expect it. As far as Minnesota goes, I liked a lot of the moves they made. They picked up Ricky Nolasco. They re-signed Mike Pelfrey. They had some nice moves, but not enough to be taken seriously. Now, Royals are a really cool team to watch. They're young and they have a ton of upside. They played decent ball last year. A lot of the experts were picking them to win the division the last 2 years. A lot does hinge on first baseman Eric Hosmer. He needs to finally live up to his billing. I don't know if he can. I hope he does. I think it makes things a little more interesting. They're a fantastic defensive team, which is huge. You got to watch his team in the outfield and in the middle of the infield. They cover so much ground. It's absolutely incredible to watch. Now, as far as the White Sox go, they really have a fantastic ace in Chris Sale and the guy who I think will be the Rookie of the Year in the American League, Jose Abreu. But not much else to be taken seriously. So I would go with the Detroit Tigers here to win the AL Central. I think pretty handily, too. I think they are the most complete team, and I think switching from Leland to Osmus is going to be a nice change of direction for the Tigers. AL West, it's really a strange division. I don't think any team really stands out besides the Houston Astros, and that's because they're awful. I mean, they've had, 3 or 4 straight seasons of losing 100 games. I'm sorry to my friend Jeffrey, who is the only Astros fan alive. They do have, one good player in Jose Altuve, but a lot of good players in that minor league system, but that's about 2 years away. As far as all the other teams in the division go, it's really a toss-up. I lean towards the Texas Rangers winning the division. They finally got a bona fide leadoff hitter in Shin-Soo Choo, big free agency contract. And in that Ian Kinsler for Prince Fielder swap, they picked up a bona fide, serious power bat that they've had, but it's really what they've been missing on the other side of Beltray and what they lost with Josh Hamilton as well. And in that ballpark, with that jet stream they have, Prince Fielder could easily hit 50 home runs this year. Now, you do have some injury concerns with Yu Darvish and top prospect Jurickson Profar. He's out for a period of time. And you got questions at the closer spot. They sent down Nefertari Feliz, who was their closer. They sent him down to the minors, and now they're going with Soria. As far as the other teams go, the Angels have arguably the best player in baseball, Mike Trout. You'd expect Hamilton and Pujols to finally live up to their contracts. A lot hinges on health with them at their ages. They just have too many questions in the rotation and bullpen to be really confident in them. But to their credit, they're really being overlooked for the first time. They've had such high expectations with the big free agency spending the last few years. They're not being looked at right now, and that might actually benefit them. There's less pressure, less media, but it's guys like Hamilton and Pujols have a bit of a confidence thing where they want to prove themselves, so they might put the pressure on themselves. I hope Jared Weaver bounces back. He kind of had a down year as he's losing his velocity. Garrett Richards is another nice young pitcher to watch for the Angels. Now, the Oakland A's are the defending AL West champions. I thought they took a few too many losses in free agency, especially with Bartolo Colon. They do have a very good rotation still, good outfield and infield defense, and a good bullpen. And they, unlike the Angels, they get slept on. The A's are always kind of overlooked because of the fact that they don't spend money. They do play money ball. They did lose their closer in Grant Balfour, so it's going to be interesting to see where they go from there. I think Cespedes will have a bounce back year as well. So they're right in the thick of things. And then the Mariners are right in the thick of things too. They have a fantastic 1-2 punch with King Felix and whatever the Japanese guy's name that I can't pronounce and don't care about. The addition of Robinson Cano is huge because you could sign a guy that hits just home runs. You could sign a guy that plays great defense and hits for average. You're talking about a guy that can hit for home runs. He plays a fantastic second base, but the numbers he puts up are that of a corner infielder outfielder. And it changes the whole dynamic of your lineup. They went and got some first baseman too they're expecting things from. I do think they would benefit greatly from signing a guy like Kendrys Morales again. So it's just tough. They have so many other questions, but they have a lot of upside as well. This whole division, besides the Astros, really does have upside and can sneak up on any of them. This is another one I think will really come down on the wire, but I'm really got to go with the team that has the least amount of questions, which would be the Texas Houston Astros. God, someone gun me down if I ever said that. The Texas Rangers. They got Prince Fielder. They got Chu. I think Prince Fielder's going to have a huge year, having that leadoff hitter in Chu and being on batting between a guy like Adrian Beltre, who's always steady and consistent. You do worry about the injuries, but I think this is really the Rangers' division to lose. But those other teams, a lot can happen and a lot can go right. And each team also has a very, very good manager besides the Astros, so they can manage those tight games well. They could be right in the thick of things. So now we're done with the American League. We'll jump right into the National League. Really, coming into the spring training, it looked like a two-dog race between the Washington Nationals and the Atlanta Braves, but the Braves took some significant injuries in spring training. They lost two of their best pitchers in Brandon Beachy and Chris Medlin. They did lose Tim Hudson in free agency as well. It does put them back a bit. They did sign Irvin Santana just a few weeks ago, but you're talking Medlin, who's been phenomenal, and Beachy, who's been very good. They're both having Tommy John now. Atlanta's hoping for bounce-back years from Dan Uggla, Jason Hayward, both Uptons, and that hopefully someone could fill Brian McCann's shoes, stat-wise and leadership-wise. It's really a lot to ask. I don't think much of Freddie Gonzalez as a manager. The one thing I do have is Craig Kimbrell, who is the best closer in baseball right now. So they definitely have experience and talent. Freddie Freeman is a phenomenal young first baseman. But when you want that many guys to bounce back, and you've been waiting for B.J. Upton and Justin Upton to finally bounce back and live up to what was expected of them out of the minors, eventually you have to wonder if it's going to happen. And I don't know. I think Dan Uggla is a player on the decline. He's a guy that will hit you home runs, but not much else. And it's really a lot to ask and a lot of question marks. Now, Washington Nationals, who I think they are the favorite. They're going to be hoping for Steven Strasburg's first 200-inning season, and maybe, just maybe, finally having a complete game from a guy who is supposed to be your ace. They had a great rotation before the addition of Doug Fister. They have a very complete lineup that features speed, power, and situational hitting. The team underperformed last year. You can't say anything otherwise. They underperformed, but they did play well down the stretch. And I think that Bryce Harper will finally put together his best season to date, barring health. I think that he's had he had his half season, then his full season with a couple injuries, and I think he's at the point now where the gloves are off. He gets it. He gets what it's about. He's always going to have that arrogance to him. That's just who Bryce Harper is. But I think that it's the point where he can turn it into more production, maybe even take on a leadership role at such a young age, which is hard with a guy like Ryan Zimmerman and Jason Worth there. But it's a very, very talented team between Ian Desmond and whatnot. But and they have a great closer as well. In what's his name? Rafael Soriano. Now, this is my division. The Mets are the Mets. Yeah, no Matt Harvey this year. You don't really have a first baseman. It's either Ike Davis or Lucas Duda. Your shortstop is Ruben Tejada. And you have Daisuke Matsusaka in your rotation from the looks of it. Having Daisuke Matsusaka in your rotation tells you just about everything you need to know about the Mets. You got questions about the bullpen as well. Bobby Parnell, his velocity isn't there. And then if he's not your closer, it's Jose Valverde. So, the team, the Mets, I was listening on the radio before, and the Mets they're saying the net value is around $900 million, which means if you sold them, you'd probably get about $2 billion. $900 million, and this team's payroll is $85 million. And 3 of our best 7 starting pitchers are in the minor leagues, and that is fucking disgusting to me. And I'm going to opening day, and I'm going to watch every Mets game, and I'm going to get angry, and they're going to take years off my life, and they're going to make me want to kill myself, and they're going to make me kick my animals. And I'm still going to give them my money and my attention and my emotion, and it sucks because this team sucks and this franchise sucks, and now I'm rambling. Oh, God, I hate them. Now, Philadelphia Phillies. This is going to be nice. I'm going to love every second of this part. The Phillies are old as dirt, and they're going to be one of the worst teams in the league. You got their manager bickering with Jimmy Rollins, who's a punk ass anyway. Very good player, but he's a punk. I'm going to love every second of it. I know they picked up A.J. Burnett, but Cole Hamels hasn't been healthy. I expect Cliff Lee to be solid. Papelbon looks like he's on the decline. Ryan Howard's on the way out. Dominic Brown's a nice young player, but they don't, Chase Utley's on the way out too. They're going to be a bad team. I think it's going to be great. I'm going to love it. And I hate the city of Philadelphia, and I wish them the worst life has to offer. And the Marlins. The Marlins are a bad team, but they have a lot of really young talent. And they could surprise some people because the one thing they have in camp and they're going to have at the major league levels, I think they have 4 or 5 guys that are coming out of their bullpen that can throw between 96 and 100 miles per hour, not to mention their nice young starting pitchers as well. So that's something really to look at. I don't think they're going to finish, above 500, but I don't think they'll finish last in the division either. I think that's going to be the Phillies. But ultimately, I think the Washington Nationals win the NL East. I think it's really their division to lose. I think saying otherwise is crazy. NL Central, this is once again a 2-dog race between the St. Louis Cardinals and the Pittsburgh Pirates. Cincinnati has some talent potential, but they are aging. A guy like Brandon Phillips is aging. They did lose Aroldis Chapman to that disgustingly brutal line drive he took off the head. They're losing him till June or July, I believe. And the loss of Chu is going to hurt them. He was a really solid, steady leadoff hitter. He's a guy that gave you a crazy high on base percentage. But, if Billy Hamilton exceeds his expectations, then that could make up for it. Because Billy Hamilton was stealing, 60, 70, 80, 100 stolen bases in the minors. And if he can just get on base, that does make a big difference. Joey Votto does need to change his philosophy and stop focusing on walks so much and start driving in. Because now, without Chu, he's going to have to do that even more. They're going to need things like 2 runs, solo homers from him, things like that. Now, St. Louis has a ridiculous amount of talent, especially in their pitching staff and in the minors still. It doesn't matter if it's starting rotation or in bullpen. St. Louis always seems to have someone there. Now, they did lose Carlos Beltran, which does hurt. That is a big deal. He's as clutch a player as you'll find, especially come postseason. But I'm just talking regular season here. They've always found a way to make things work. Yadier Molina is a fantastic catcher, and I expect him to have another big season. Now, Pittsburgh has a very, very good rotation, a lot of young upside. Now, they did lose A.J. Burnett, and he was very good for them last year, and he was veteran leadership, which you really want with a young team, a young rotation as well. You have the defending NL champion, NL MVP in Andrew McCutchen, Starling Marte, who is fantastic as well. Now, they did lose Marlon Byrd, who was great for them down the stretch after they traded for him from the Mets in early August. He was really what helped close out the wild card for them. So there's a lot of things that could potentially go wrong. I worry about Jason Grilli in the closing spot as well. He seems like one of those guys that could have one great year closing and then kind of fall off. But they're still a very talented, well-managed team. The Cubs and Brewers are both awful, and they just don't deserve my time of day. So my winner for the National League Central will be the St. Louis Cardinals. Now the National League West, this is a funny division because everyone always thought of the Yankees as the team that spent the most money, but the Dodgers broke the payroll record for a single season this year, over $230 million. They do have the best pitcher in baseball in Clayton Kershaw, and then their 1-2-3 punch is phenomenal in Kershaw, Greinke, and Rue. That's as good as you'll find. You hope to see Matt Kemp finally bounce back and stay healthy. You hope to see Yasiel Puig kind of tone down the issues that he's had, because he is a fantastic player, but he's just I don't know if he just has low baseball IQ or if he just doesn't care. Some of the things he does, it's going to eventually rub it. You can be an idiot and do dumb things and have dumb antics when you're batting over 300, 400. But if he's doing those things while he's batting 120, less than 240, that's not going to rub the veterans on the team the right way at all. So he's kind of got to stay in there. Adrian Gonzalez, awesome player. You know, you can count on 25, 100 from him usually, 300 average, Gold Glove defense. Hanley Ramirez was great last year. I expect him to be good again. Carl Crawford was very good for them last year. Should be good for them again. Very potent lineup. A lot of injury risk. They did spend a lot of money on international free agents, which you might see up this year at some point. But they have a very good bullpen as well. Brian Wilson looks amazing in camp. That could be a steal of a signing. He probably is my comeback player of the year. I'm not really doing those in the predictions, but he's going to be awesome. The team they have to compete with here is San Francisco. You look to see them bounce back. They always seem to do well after having a down year. In fact, they seem to win the World Series after having a down year. I expect better years from Matt Cain, Tim Lincecum, and really the entire rotation. Pablo Sandoval, he hired a personal trainer and a chef to be with him all the time, so he's reporting like 50 pounds lighter than he ever has, which weight has always been his issue. So I expect a big season from him. And they have, they got guys that have won 2 World Series there. They have a manager, that's Bruce Bochy, that's managed 2 World Series wins. So they're a team you can't really sleep on. And they have Buster Posey as well, who is a fantastic young catcher. As far as the Padres go, they're a team that could surprise some people this year. They got a lot of young talent. They've moved their walls in finally. They're a team to watch. They're not ready yet, but they can be a tough team in the division if you're clawing for second wild card, things like that. I think the Rockies are the worst team in the division. They just don't have pitching. And the Diamondbacks are another team you could potentially see nice things from, but they lost Patrick Corbin, who was amazing for them last year in his rookie year. That's a big deal. They do have a legit MVP candidate in Paul Goldschmidt, but he needs help around him, and I don't really know if he has that yet. And I just can't count on the Diamondbacks or the Padres in the stage that they're at. So I'm going to go with the Dodgers in the National League West. I think I made that pretty clear with how confident I was in everything I was saying about them. Now, my American League wild card winners, I'm going to go with the Oakland Athletics to win one of those wild cards. I think they still have enough experience, situational hitting and pitching and defense to win it. And I'm going to go with the Tampa Bay Rays. I love Joe Madden. I love what they've done. I love Will Myers. They got a very, very good team, and they're always just there, which means the Yankees would miss the playoffs. I think that the age, injuries, even if they're healthy, their infield defense is so slow and old. I can't see them doing very well. So I'll go with the A's and Tampa Bay Rays to win the 2 wild cards in the American League. For the National League, I'm going to go with the Pittsburgh Pirates to win one of the wild cards. I would have gone with Atlanta if they did not lose Medlin and Beachy, but those are huge losses. I can't stress them enough. And I'm going to go with the San Francisco Giants. I think that they have enough pitching. I think they have the right management. And I think they play in a good ballpark where they know how to win and put up a great home record. So I got the Pirates and the Giants winning the 2 National League wild cards, and they'll obviously play a 1-game playoff. Now, my American League champions are going to be the Detroit Tigers. I think they're finally ready to get over the hump that they've faced last year. I think they're going to get to the World Series. I think they're going to get there rather easily, too. I think Scherzer is going to have another lights-out year. I think Verlander is going to be even better than last year, which, you look at his numbers, they were bad by his standards, but great by anyone else's. And I love the addition of Nathan Jabba, as I said. And my National League winners will be the Washington Nationals. I think that they would have been there 2 years ago if they didn't shut down Strasburg. I thought it was kind of, it was a good thing that happened to them, because it showed how arrogant they were, that they thought they'd be right back the next year. I think they're going to get it this year. I think the team's going to play with a chip on their shoulder. Now my World Series champions. So we have the Washington Nationals and Detroit Tigers World Series, and I'm definitely leaning towards the Detroit Tigers here. I think they have the better overall rotation. I think their lineup fills out better. I think they have the better mix of power. I think they have the best player in baseball as well. So the Detroit Tigers, Mr. Steven Goykoff, and I have cousins out in Detroit too. You guys will win the World Series. I'm pretty confident in that one. I love the makeup of this team. I love the manager. I just don't want to see them move Victor Martinez to catcher again. Let him DH. He's worth it. But yeah, you guys are going to win the World Series and finally have something to celebrate in that shithole of a city. I know the Red Wings and the Pistons have won, but you guys have been hoping on your Lions or Tigers for a few years, and your Lions aren't going to do it anytime soon, but your Tigers will do it this year. As far as my regular season awards, my American League MVP is the guy who I just said is the best player in baseball. That is Miguel Cabrera. He is far and away the best baseball player in the league to me. Mike Trout obviously does a few different things. Does better defense, better stealing bases, etc., etc. But Miguel Cabrera, he's doing things at the plate right now that I don't know if they've ever been done. The only other person, right-handed bat I can think of that was as potent and as deadly as him is Manny Ramirez, and I think Miggy's starting to pass that up. My National League MVP is also going to be a first baseman. I'm going to go with Adrian Gonzalez. I think that he's finally, he's always been a great player. I think that he's taken on a good leadership role out there in LA. I think, his second year there is going to be even better. I think as long as Puig lives up to it, and especially if Kemp stays healthy, he's going to put up huge numbers on top of good defense. My American League Cy Young winner is going to be King Felix, winning his second one. I think the addition of Cano will help him pick up a few more wins, because the year he won the Cy Young, he was only like 1 or 2 games above 500. I think the addition of Robinson Cano will give the team enough offense where he does pick up those few extra wins, and I think it'll make a difference. And my National League Cy Young winner is going to be Jose Fernandez, the reigning National League Rookie of the Year. He was fantastic last year. He was third in the National League in ERA, I believe. Incredible young pitcher. So, the team might be hard finding wins with the Marlins, but I think it's definitely going to be Jose Fernandez. My American League Rookie of the Year is going to be Jose Abreu of the Chicago White Sox. Big international free agent signing. Very, very talented. Lot of power. This guy can hit him out of any ballpark. So I'll go with Abreu. In my National League Rookie of the Year, I'm going to go with the homer pick. I'm going to go with Travis d'Arnaud. The only other guy I feel confident picking is Billy Hamilton, just because I know even if this dude bats 220, 230, he's probably going to steal 50, 60 bags. But I think d'Arnaud, just based on what scouts are saying, I think he's going to, hit 20, 25 home runs. He's going to have 60 to 80 RBIs, bat you about 270, 280, and he's going to call a great game and play good defense. And this is part of me just hoping, because if Travis d'Arnaud plays well and he pans out, that looks a lot better for the Mets' future. So, broke it down pretty quickly for you. Hope I didn't drag on too much. We'll jump right into the Q&A. With the passing of Ralph Wilson, Buffalo Bills owner, do you think the Bills will stay in Buffalo? I don't think so. I think he was really the last holding force there that was going to keep him. I think that there's a good chance that the Buffalo Bills will move to Los Angeles. I can't say I'd be sad about it. I want to see division realignment. I think some of the division just don't make sense. And plus the Bills always beat Miami when we need to beat them, and it pisses me off. I mean, we'll just do that. We'll just lose to some other shitty team. But there's been a lot of pressure on the Bills to move to either Canada or Los Angeles. I think they'll move to Los Angeles. I think the motion, it's kind of happening now, especially with the passing of Ralph Wilson, which he was a very important owner to the NFL. He was the first guy that wanted to put a team in Miami 6 years before the Dolphins went there. And he bought the Bills back when they became an AFL franchise for only $25,000, which really was a lot back then. And he won 2 AFL championships with them, 4 straight Super Bowls, didn't win any of them, past at, I think, age 95. But yeah, I don't think the Bills are sticking in Buffalo very long. Should Dan Henderson retire after that win? Absolutely not. I do not want to see Dan Henderson retire. I want to see him fight again. I want to see him get knocked out brutally. I don't like Dan Henderson. I respect him. But, all these guys that love Dan Henderson, they're the same ones calling out Vitor Belfort for being on TRT. Dan Henderson's on TRT. He's a dirty fighter. Every fight he has, he did it at Fedor. He poked Rich Franklin in the eye, and he just pounded the back out of Shogun's head. Guy's tough as shit, great chin, but he pounded the shit out of the back of Shogun's head 5-6 times. Getting punched in the nose doesn't wobble you like getting punched in the back of the head does, like you saw Shogun when he was having trouble getting up. And I want to see him get absolutely demolished in a fight. I want to see him get knocked out like he knocked out Michael Bisping. But my feelings on TRT, and I'm a Vitor fan, admittedly. If you need TRT to fight, and Hendo and Chael Sonnen are both crying, we might have to retire, then you shouldn't be fighting if you need something to enhance your training. Part of life is aging. And if you're aging, that means that your body is telling you should not be doing something anymore. You're putting stuff in your body that your body has stopped producing naturally. Retire and don't cry that you can't take something that has enhanced your performance. Faggot. Should the UFC put on Jacare versus Machida since Chris Weidman is hurt? Absolutely not. That is a boring fight. Ugh. That is a dreadful fight. I mean, Jacare's last fight was ass. I know he had a messed up elbow. Machida looked great against Mousasi. I just make Jacare fight someone else. Machida's earned his shot. He deserves a title shot. He should not have to take a step down and fight someone like Jacare. Are you watching Metamoris 3, Eddie Bravo against Royler Gracie on Saturday? And that's my phone, my house phone ringing. I hope it's important. Now, will I watch Eddie Bravo against Royler Gracie? I won't watch it live. I just can't take time out of my day to watch a grappling event at this point in my life. I'll probably, keep up with what's going on and maybe watch the video replay if it turns out it was good. But at this point, I just don't care enough. And although if I'm home and it's on, I'll probably put it on. Who is this year's surprise team in MLB? Well, I kind of just laid that out. I think that'll be the Padres if they surprise anyone. I guess the Angels too, but with that payroll, you can't really say they're surprising anyone. What do you think of the new rule changes in the National Football League? I'm assuming you're talking about the no dunking on the goalpost and the raising the goalpost 5 feet. Well, the raising of the goalpost 5 feet is awesome. That needs to be done because the fact that you can't challenge a kick and so many of these close field goal attempts, they go, they're so close that they almost look like they go over. And you can't review a kick. So even at 5 feet, it doesn't hurt. I mean, no big deal. As far as the goalpost thing, I think it's stupid. I mean, Tony Gonzalez did it his whole career. And it takes 30 seconds to fix the goalpost if it gets messed up like you saw Jimmy Graham do. They're just eventually going to take away any kind of celebration. They're going to want you to, eventually they're going to want you to ask the opposing defense, hey, do you mind if I score right now? Because it really helped my team out. And then shake their hand, say thank you, and even, offer them, like a tip if they let you score. It's kind of silly that they're going to take away these. End zone celebrations are fun. And I hope Jimmy Graham does do what he says and he's going to get a penalty every time. I hope he does do it and I hope they fine him because they'll realize how stupid it is. The dunking on the goalpost is fun. It's cool to look at, especially if a guy messes up. In fact, I hope every player starts fucking doing a finger roll straight over the goalpost as opposed to dunking it. There's nothing in the rule books that say you can't fucking do a finger roll. And as far as not being allowed to say the N-word on the field, no, fuck it. I'm more offended by the word N-word. As far as not allowed me to say nigger, I think it's more offensive. I agreed with Richard Sherman. It's offensive that you're going to take away this word. If a white player is attacking a black player like that, then he should be penalized for unsportsmanlike conduct, like you would be if you said, I'll kill your fucking family or anything like that. If a black player is saying it to another black player, fucking let them. They do it all the time anyway. If they're saying it to their teammates, is a guy going to get in trouble for saying it to his teammate? Give me a fucking break. They can't be the police here. This is all going to come down to what the NFL wants to do, and they're going to want mics on every player, every huddle, so they hear everything going on, and it's fucking stupid. Daisuke Matsusaka or Henry Mejia, who should win the 5th spot in the Mets rotation and why? For the love of God, anyone but Daisuke Matsusaka. He was never as good as they hoped he would be when he came over to the Major League Baseball. He's fucking boring. He takes forever to pitch. Like, if you watch this guy pitch, he'll pitch 4 hours and you're 3 innings into the game. It just drags. And what's the point? What am I going to see from Daisuke? He's a friggin' stopgap for Syndergaard or Mejia or Montero or DeGrom. I don't need to say. I know what Daisuke is, even if he pitches well. Henry Mejia pitched better than him in spring training. He pitched well last year in the rotation for us until he got hurt. Give it to Mejia. Like, I don't need to see Daisuke pitch. It's one thing if, we had 4 stud, proven pitchers and we were ready to compete and we just needed a 5th guy to eat up innings. Yeah, whatever then. Take that Daisuke. He'll give me 200 innings. He'll sub 4 ERA. But I don't need to see anything. He's not going to prove anything to me. What's he going to win? Is 5 games before he gets hurt, before he sucks so bad we release him? Give it to Mejia, so at least I know what he's capable of. And sorry about this, but on top of that, if Daisuke does get this 5th spot, eventually he's getting it taken away by one of these young guys anyway. No one wants to see Daisuke for 200 innings. Give me a fucking break. Which fans got fucked over more? The Jets for picking up Michael Vick or the Eagles for taking Sanchez? The Eagles didn't officially sign Mark Sanchez yet, but it sounds like it's going to happen. I would say that, honestly, I know I'm a bias against the Jets, but I would say that the Jets are in more trouble because if they go into this offseason looking at it like what it looks like, it's going to be a competition between Geno Smith and Michael Vick. In a competition between Geno Smith and Michael Vick will win. And all Michael Vick will do is play 4 or 5 games, get hurt, and you stunt the growth of Geno Smith. It's absolutely detrimental to his growth, I believe, personally. And I just, people want to say, oh, well, when he got hurt, Foles played well, yada, yada. Foles was already a guy they looked at with high upside to begin with. And that, he was a second-year quarterback. You're going to see Geno is a second-year quarterback, but you saw his rookie year. You need to build on that. The fact that he did play decently down the stretch. And when you put Vic in there, you completely change the whole offensive line because he's a lefty and his game is completely different. So the players play differently. And when he does get hurt and you put Geno in, they're going to have to adjust to him again. He should be backing up Geno Smith. And Geno is not a good quarterback. That's my point. They should not assign him to begin with. They should assign a guy that is a bona fide backup. But they should just say it's Geno's job. The fact that they haven't tells you everything you need to know. How close did you get to winning $1 billion for the perfect NCAA bracket? I didn't do an NCAA bracket. I never have. I don't know if I will in the future. I just don't keep up with college basketball enough, and I'm not going to half-ass one with guessing it just for fucking money, personally. Is it true the pilot of the Malaysian plane was your lover and the two of you were planning your wedding next year? Absolutely not, because I would never, ever marry or date an Asian in my life. Now that Jared Allen is in Chicago, how many rings will the Bears win? That's a really, really good question. I'm going to keep it pretty simple for you. They're going to win as many as they have since 1985. How many Mets games a year do you watch, and why do you put yourself through it? Okay, there's 162 games in a season. Out of the Mets, I probably watch a solid 120 full 9 innings, I'd say. And it hurts. I don't know why I put myself through it. I did this comparison with the Dolphins, and I'll do it with the Mets too. It's like an abusive relationship. When you talk to a girl, it's in this abusive relationship, and you wonder why she stays with him. And but he does good for me. He gives, he's good to me this, and I might have deserved it. And the Mets, they do give me hope sometimes. They got these young pitchers. They spend money sometimes. Not in a while, they spend money. And I'm thinking, they're going to do good. And they have a couple nice wins. And they win opening day. And they win a couple series. And then they just let me down. And they do the same thing over and over again. That is the story of the New York Metropolitans. I don't know why I put myself through it. I don't know why I watch so many games. I don't know why I give them so much energy. And I'm getting exhausted just talking about them now. Should the college athletes be allowed to unionize? Because as the National Labor Relations Board just told the Northwestern region they could unionize today. Unionizing, yeah, I guess. I think that NCAA athletes should get paid. I think if they're going to be told that they can be punished for taking money, then who's going to take care of these guys? You're talking a lot of these kids, they come from inner cities. They don't have money coming from mommy and daddy. And they're told that they can't accept pay and they can't work in the season. And the NCAA makes billions off these kids. Billions for essentially it's slavery, essentially. I mean, they are our employees. They have to be at practice at a certain time. They have to be at games. They have to be in bed at a certain time. They go by every type of thing an actual employee does, but an employee gets paid. And if you find out that these kids get paid, you punish them. And then these kids could potentially get hurt. And then they lose millions of dollars because it affects their draft status in the NBA, baseball, football, hockey. For wrestlers, it affects their Olympic credits and things like that. And the NCAA, they want to use these kids' likeness and tell these kids they can't use their own likeness. So yeah, they should absolutely. I think they should absolutely be allowed to get paid. All right, next question. My cat seems tired all the time. What's wrong with him? You're probably boring, for one. Cats, they're not really tired if you hang out with them. They might just sit on your lap and chill. My cat, he's always walking around following me because I don't bore him and I'm not a fucking asshole. How do I make my cat stop yelling? Step on it. Will the Mets add to their league best winning percentage on opening day? Absolutely they will, because I'm going to be there. Dylan G is facing the Nationals and he generally owns them. And we do pretty well against Strasburg as of late. And history's on our side at home. We always play well on opening day. Don't ask me why. I think the Mets will win. Will Ike Davis be too tired to play on opening day? Funny, I'll explain a little reference. Ike Davis was pulled from a spring training game the other day in the 4th inning because of fatigue. I'm sick of this guy. Get him out of here. I'm assuming he's going to be the opening day first baseman, though. What brand of toilet paper is your favorite and why? I don't know the brand. I usually just get what's on sale. I always go single ply, though. I don't know why. I don't think I have a favorite brand. Whatever's on sale. That's what works for me. Spiral cut hot dogs. Let's talk about them. Oh, I got these friends all over. I got local friends in California, friends in Detroit, friends in New Orleans, friends in Marinerland, and a lot of them like to bust my balls about this whole. I'm a big fan of hot dogs. This is one of my favorite foods. I'll eat 5, 6, 7 of them in a sitting. And they like talking to me, the spiral cut hot dogs. You can YouTube this. And they cut these hot dogs spirally because it says it helps the condiment fall right into place as opposed to getting sloppy and all over. Fuck it. No. That's not right. It's un-American. It's unconstitutional. The hot dog is meant to be just quick, easy, simple. Just put some fucking mustard on it. If you like ketchup, put some fucking ketchup on it. Put sauerkraut, relish, whatever the fuck you like. You don't have to fucking sit there, I gotta fucking cut this up now. And like, they're fucking some little asshole kid asking his mom to cut his sandwiches into triangles. No, just fucking eat it, you fucking asshole. It's a fucking hot dog. It doesn't need to be all fucking complicated and stupid. Just get the hot dog, cook it, grill it, boil it. I don't care how you do it. Put it in the fucking bun, put your condiment on it, eat it, and shut up. You don't need to do a spiral cut. And if I ever see someone spiral cut it, I'm going to stick it up their ass and then make them eat it and see how the condiment tastes then. Last question. What do you think of Alex Malaguti? Alex is a friend of mine, younger kid. He's a drunk. And he sent me a Snapchat of his cock the other day, which is rather unfortunate. At like 12:30 in the morning. I guess he was drunk. Alex is okay. He's fucking big ears, satellite radio. The fucking sending me selfies at the gym of him working out and shit. The fucking dildo with fucking hair like Sideshow Bob. But no, he's a good kid. I like Alex. All right, well, that's it for this week. I don't know if I'll do it next week. I'm probably going to be doing a few leading up to the draft, and I'm sure I'm going to have one bitching about the Mets and how awful they are and things going on in baseball and whatnot. Thank you for listening. If you have any questions, comments, anything like that, shoot them over to me on Facebook, Twitter, right here on SoundCloud or YouTube. I appreciate you guys listening, and I'll talk to you soon. Later.